How you going, guys? Dean from Blog for the Blood God here, and today I've got a battle report for you guys. It's a warm-up battle report for the Menza Masquerade, which is the tournament that I'm going to this weekend. It's going to be Astra Millitarum versus Chaos Daemons, 1350 points, and it's using the community comp document with an 8 credit limit. So I'll go through the lists in a second, and then we'll get stuck straight into it. It's going to be an A.T.C format, so I'll go through that mission format when we get into the game. Alrighty, so the first list we're going to go through today is the Astra Millitarum. So it's a combined arms detachment. To fill our mandatory HQ slot, we have Knight Commander Pask in a Leman Russ Punisher with heavy bolter side sponsons and a heavy bolter on the hull. To join him in his squadron, we have a Leman Russ Demolisher, just bare bones, no upgrades whatsoever. Then for our 2 mandatory troops choices, we have a squad of 10 veterans with an autocannon in each and a dedicated transport chimera each. Then we go into fast attack. You can see up the back there we've got 2 Vendetta gunships, just bare bones, no upgrades on those. And then in the heavy support slots, we have 2 separate squadrons of a single Leman Russ battle tank, which has been upgraded to have heavy bolter side sponsons and a heavy bolter on the hull. Now for this one we've used the community comp document, and it comes in at 7 credits, which this tournament had an 8 credit maximum, so it's come in underneath the maximum, so it's fine. Most of the credits were taken up by the sheer number of battle tanks, and there was also a couple for the Vendettas, and the fact that we've got Pask in a Punisher, that's extra credits as well. So yeah, that's the Astra Millitarum list. I'll clear this off and I'll get out the Khorne. Alrighty, so the second list for today's battle report is my Chaos Demons. Now I'm using the Demonic Incursion detachment. So for my core formation, I have a Murder Horde, which is comprised of 4 units of 5 Fleshhounds, which you can see at the front. Then behind them we have 4 units of 10 Bloodletters. Each one of those has a Blood Reaper upgrade, and the Blood Reaper has a lesser reward. And then in that formation up the top left, you can see the Herald of Khorne on a Juggernaut. He has the Exalted Loki of Wrath, and he also has a lesser reward. And then the next formation is the Hunter of Khorne, which is simply the Karanak, which you can see in the top right. And then a final formation is the Demon Lord, which is a Bloodthirster of Insensate Rage. He's going to be my Warlord, and he has 2 greater rewards. So that's that list. As far as community comp credits goes, it's a 3 credit list. So it's well under the 8 credit limit. Most of those points are generated by having fast assault units in the Fleshhounds. That generated me 2 points. And the Bloodthirster of Insensate Rage generated me my 3rd credit. So it's a very, very low credit list, this one. So yeah, it should be interesting to see how it goes. I'm going to clear the table, set up the terrain, and then I'll run you through the terrain and the mission type. Alrighty, now I'll run you through the table setup and objective placement. So down in the bottom left corner down here, you can see we've got objective number 1. Then up here we have objective number 2. There, objective number 3 is here. 4, 5, and then 6. So you can see they're little stones. You'll see them up close when we get into the actual battle report, but yeah, they just look like little stones. And then obviously there's the bastions, which are fully functional for this game, heavy bolters and all. Then there's the Aegis defense lines. We've got a Icarus las cannon over here, fully functional, a comms relay here, and an ammunition dump here. So they're all going to be working for the game. and we will not be using mysterious objectives, simply because I always forget. And other than that, the board's all just open terrain. There's no dangerous or difficult terrain, with the exception, obviously, of if somebody wants to pass through an Aegis defense line or climb on top of a bastion. Bastions can be destroyed. I don't know what else there really is to say about that. So that's your table setup and your objectives, and now I'll get into a bit more of a close-up video and I'll show you the A.T.C mission format. So, what is the A.T.C format, I hear you ask? I've actually never played a game of it, but I've read about it, and this is basically the format that's going to be used in the tournament I'm attending this weekend. So I thought, why not try it out? And basically, A.T.C stands for Australian Team Challenge, and it's one of the main sort of ones that they use in the Australian tournament scene. And what it is it's a combination of kill points, Maelstrom of War, and Eternal War. So it sort of covers all of the bases. What it is you've got Maelstrom of War component. You draw 3 cards at the start of your turn. You can only score a maximum of 2 cards, and you can't score the same card twice. So should you get, for example, score objective number 3, if you get that twice and you're on objective number 3, you get 1 point. You can't get the same one twice. And then at the end of your turn, you can discard 1 card, and then at your next turn you draw up to 3. So you always have 3. So that's the Maelstrom of War component, and you score those victory points throughout the game, just like a normal, straight out of the rulebook Maelstrom of War. Then you've got the Eternal War component, which is basically at the end of the game, for any objective marker that you hold, you get 3 more victory points. So you get all your Maelstrom points throughout the game, plus you get an extra 3 for every objective you hold at the end. And then they also have what they call a kill point differential. So what you do there is you don't get a point for every unit you kill, like in a standard kill point game. What you do is at the end of the game, tally up how many units you killed, how many units your opponent killed, and then whoever has the higher gets the difference. So, for example, if I killed 10 units and my opponent killed 5 units, I would get 5 points, because that's the difference between the two. So however many you beat your opponent by, that's how many points you get. So, like I said, I've never played it before. I've read about it, and that's my understanding of how the A.T.C format works. Personally, I'm a huge fan, because I find that sometimes the mission will determine who wins regardless of how you play, because some armies, if you get Maelstrom of War, you're just going to absolutely dominate. Some armies, if you get kill points, you're just fucked, because you've got so many multiple small units on the table, you get your ass kicked. So it's sort of having a combination of kill points and Maelstrom and Eternal War all happening at once. It sort of makes it so that it's going to be more fair for anyone who's playing. Either way, enough ranting about A.T.C. I hope I've explained it in a way that's going to make sense, so that when you're watching this battle report, you'll understand why the players are doing what they're doing. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments below, and if I can't answer them, I'll try and find the answer. Because, yeah, it's something I want to learn a little bit more as well, so let's figure it out together. Alrighty, so now that we've done that, we're going to get into deployment, and we're going to start the game. Alrighty, so Chaos Demons won the roll-off to deploy first. So they chose the right-hand side. We got Hammer and Anvil as our deployment type. So we've deployed your Fleshhounds along the front here. Then behind them, you've got a row of Bloodletters. We've got these Bloodletters here holding objective number 6. And these Bloodletters here are holding objective number 5 and that las cannon, which is going to be crucial for the demons to take out those flyers. We've got the Karanak and the Herald have joined this unit of Fleshhounds here. And the Bloodthirster of Insensate Rage, he's coming in as well along the back. We then rolled Warlord traits, and the Bloodthirster got the Rampage special rule, which is not going to help him out greatly against the vehicles, but he's not going to need help there anyway. Hopefully that'll just help him in case he gets tar pitted by a unit of veterans. But even then, I don't think he's really worried about what a couple of veterans are going to do. And then we rolled for the demonic rewards. So all of the bloodletters and the herald all ended up just going with the weapon, the Axe of Khorne, which is like the Primaris, if you will. Because the rolls that I got were pretty average. I got +1 to reserve rolls, which doesn't help me at all. I got Adamantium Will, which doesn't help me at all. Yeah, so all the rolls were pretty average, so I've just swapped them out for the AP2 close combat weapon, which also is probably not going to help me out very much at all because Astra Millitarum don't have any armor. It might help me out with popping the vehicles though, so we'll see. We will see. But yes, so that's the Khorne deployment, the Chaos Demons deployment. We then went over into Astra Millitarum, their deployment on this side. So they've set up 2 battle tanks over on this left flank, holding objective number 1. Then they've got a Chimera there, ready to move forward and grab that objective number 3. And potentially move on to 4, I believe is the plan. And then over here we've got the tank commander and his buddy Demolisher. They're just sort of bunkered up, ready to lay out some hurt down the field. And then we've got the last Chimera over there holding objective number 2. Now, the veterans are in their Chimeras, and the Vendettas are in reserves. And Pask's Warlord trait is set in stone, so we didn't have to roll that. No Psychers, didn't have to roll any powers. So theirs was nice and simple. So we'll get stuck into turn 1. We'll do the scout moves first, and we'll get stuck into turn 1, and we'll be back. Chaos Demons movement phase. So first we drew our objective cards. So we got Witch Hunter, score a victory point if you kill an enemy Psyker. Big Game Hunter, score a victory point if you kill a vehicle or monstrous creature. And secure objective number 3. So for the movement phase, we pretty much just moved forward with everything except for these bloodletters here, simply because they're holding that Icarus and also that objective. These blokes corrupted objective number 6. Moved forward. These guys scouted forward and moved to corrupt objective number 4. With combined scout and movement, those flesh hounds have moved all the way up to their maximum distance. Same with the flesh hounds and the Karanak and Herald. And they've also corrupted number 3. And the flesh hounds have moved up as well on this side. So movement was pretty much just rush everything forward. The Bloodthirster's moved forward to his maximum as well without entering swooping mode. He's still gliding for now. Chaos Demons shooting phase, we rolled the Warp Storm and we got the Warp Surges, which basically adds +1 to all the demons' invulnerable saves, which brings them all up to a 4 up across the board. And then all else we did was we ran. We ran. So we ran those Flesh Hounds up a little bit, those Flesh Hounds up a little bit, Bloodletters up a little bit. They stayed still. They fired the las cannon but missed. Go figure. And then these guys ran up a little bit as well. So we're right on his toes. So let's see what he can do in response. That's no assaults, because turn 1. So yeah, that's the end of the Chaos Demons turn 1. We did not get Witch Hunter, we did not get Big Game Hunter, however we did secure objective number 3. So we did gain that 1 victory point. Let's see what the Astra Millitarum can do in return. Alrighty, so we got turn 1 for the Astra Millitarum. They drew their 3 cards. They got no prisoners, which is score 1 victory point if you destroy an enemy unit in your turn. Secure objective 1. And Hungry for Glory, which is if you issue a challenge during your turn. So for their movement phase, they pretty much did fuck all. The 2 battle tanks moved slightly back from the Flesh Hounds just to protect themselves from their own scatter, and they're still holding objective number 1. Other than that, there was no movement because they wanted to optimize their damage output. So yeah, let's get into the shooting phase. pretty strong shooting phase from the Astra Millitarum. So we had the two battle tanks here fired at the flesh hounds, took them down to a single flesh hound remaining with a single wound. The battle cannons did most of the damage because they were instant killing, and then the heavy bolters just chipped away what was left. But there was a single flesh hound with a single wound. Luckily, the lasgun arrays on this Chimera can fire at a separate target to the rest of the Chimera, so they fired in and managed to take out that last flesh hound. So that's first blood to Astra Millitarum. Then the rest of this Chimera fired into the unit in front of it and did squat, didn't kill anything. Demolisher over here fired into this unit as well with his large strength 10 blast. He was hoping to instant kill these Warlord, the Herald in here, but unfortunately he only did 2 wounds, so killed 2 of the hounds. Then we had Pask, the fucker. He fired into a unit of flesh hounds that was in the middle of the board here and just obliterated them, absolutely obliterated them. His Punisher cannon plus those 9 shots from the 3 heavy bolters that he've got was just so much damage output that they didn't stand a chance. And then the only other one was the Chimera on the end there. He fired his lasgun array and killed a single flesh hound, and then he fired his autocannon, his multi-laser, and his heavy bolter, and none of them did a single wound. So the lasgun arrays have actually done really well in this game so far, surprisingly, because they're normally piss weak. But yes, so that's the end of their shooting phase, and then obviously no assault phase for the Astra Millitarum. So as for objectives, they did get no prisoners because they killed 2 units. Unfortunately, they didn't kill 3, which is what they needed to get the threshold for that D3 victory points. So they got that. They also got secure objective number 1 with the battle tank over here. So that's theirs. They didn't get Hungry for Glory, however, because you have to issue a challenge. So they got those 2, plus they got First Blood. So they're on 3, and I'm on 2. Yes, 2. Really? 2? Oh no, I'm on 1, and then I discarded Witch Hunter. That's right. I probably should keep that separate, eh? Yeah, so I'm on 1, and I discarded Witch Hunter. So we'll get into my turn 2, and I'll draw myself 2 new cards, and we'll take it from there. Alrighty, so I've drawn my 2 new cards. So I got Psychological Warfare, Secure Objective 3, and I still have Big Game Hunter from the previous turn. And then for my movement phase, I've just pushed a little bit further up the board with the Bloodletters. Those guys have remained stationary again because they want to keep using that free las cannon. These Bloodletters have moved a little bit further up the board. The Bloodthirster is still gliding, and he's heading over there because he wants Pask's fucking head. And then the Flesh Hounds that were there have now moved up here because they want to take that battle tank. So that's my movement phase, and now we'll get into shooting phase, and we'll be right. So that's the shooting phase for the Chaos Demons done. We rolled Warp Surge again on the Warp Storm table. Well, we actually rolled a 10, which is Warp Surge. We can move it up and down, but I decided not to this turn because I wanted to keep that +1 to my invulnerable save. And then we got some truly freaking epic run moves. These guys ran up an extra 6 inches. These guys ran up an extra 5 inches. And then these guys ran up an extra 6 inches. So there was not a single run move below 5 inches this turn in the shooting phase. So that's really good. So it's got me a little bit closer and a lot stronger with my invulnerable saves. Now let's jump into the assault phase. Now that's the end of the Chaos Demons assault phase. And it was fucking brutal. So we had the Herald, Karanak, and his Flesh Hounds flew up here and blew up that battle tank, which was claiming objective number 1 for themselves. Then the Bloodthirster made his 10-inch charge, which my opponent was counting on me failing, and managed to blow up both Pask and the Demolisher with that strength D. Then these hounds blew up this Chimera, which dropped these veterans out the side. So very brutal. I blew up 4 tanks in that 1 round of combat, and now he hasn't got a great deal left that he can, return fire with. So I'm very happy with that turn. So we did not get Psychological Warfare, unfortunately. I did get Secure Objective 3 because of the Demonic Corruption. I still count as holding that until he jumps on it. And I did get Big Game Hunter. And I did... hang on, score 1 victory point. Okay, so even if you kill multiples, you don't get D3. It's only if it's super heavy or gargantuan. Okay, cool. So no D3 off that, but I did get these 2 objectives. And I got Slaver Warlord. So that means I'm now on 4, and my opponent's on 2, plus he got First Blood. So it's 3 on 4. So it's kind of close, but looking at the table, it's not so close. So let's see how he goes with his reserves, because those Vendettas could very well be a game changer. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll get back to you at the start of his turn. Alrighty, so for the start of the Astra Millitarum turn, he's drawn his objectives. So he's got Secure Objective 2, 6, and Hungry for Glory. He doesn't stand a chance in hell of getting 6, because that's freaking ages away. Unless he wants to get his Vendettas over there, I guess. And then he's got objective number 2, it's just over here. So he's moved his objective secured veterans there, so they're now holding that, because none of the Khorne demons have objective secured. Other movement was he's pivoted his battle tank and his Chimera to rip into this unit here, hoping to stop them from blowing up, more tanks. And then he's got lucky with his reserves rolls, brought on both of his Vendettas, and I think it's pretty obvious who they're targeting. So we'll jump into their shooting phase, and we'll be right back. So that was an interesting shooting phase by the Astra Millitarum. The battle tank fired in and killed 1 Fleshhound. Then the Chimera fired, multi-laser did jack shit, heavy bolted did jack shit. Then the Lasgun array fired and killed the Herald and another Fleshhound. So those Lasguns are fucking cashing checks. So they did really well. Then we had the 2 Vendettas flew in, fired everything they had at that Bloodthirster, and didn't inflict a single wound. That 4+ rerollable invulnerable save, backed up by a 4+ feel no pain, it makes him practically unkillable. Unless you want to put a fuck ton of firepower into him. So that made me really happy. And then over here, these guardsmen, veterans, fired in and killed another 2 Fleshhounds. So the Lasguns are really doing all of the work in this list. They've pretty much all of the models that are dead are pretty much to Lasguns, except for what Pask did before he got made. So that's the end of his shooting phase. Obviously, no assault phase, because he's fired rapid fire weapons over there, so even if you wanted to charge, you can't, and everything else is a vehicle. So as for objectives, he got objective 2 up the back there. He secured that. Did not get objective 6, and did not get Hungry for Glory. So he's got one more card there, and he's probably going to discard one of those. But yes, so looking pretty grim, but then at the same time, I don't have anything really to combat those flyers, because I was sort of relying on the rewards that I get to give me something, because there's some ranged weapons in there, but I didn't get it, so he'll just be able to fly around taking pot shots. It's just a matter of can he keep up with the victory points. So we'll just have to see how the cards fall. So we'll jump into Chaos Demons turn, 3? So, Chaos Demons, turn 3. I drew my cards, so I had Supremacy, which is D3 victory points if you control at least 2 objective markers and at least twice as many as your opponent. Secure Objective number 1, and Psychological Warfare. So for my movement, I moved the Bloodletters that were here over here so that they're contesting both of those 2 objectives. I already hold them thanks to Demonic Corruption, but I wanted to make sure I was on them because I continue to hold them until he holds the objective. If he's merely contesting it, it still counts as me holding it. He has to actually capture the objective in order to take it from me. And now, in order to do that, he's going to have to kill Bloodletters. And the only reason I've done that is to stop last turn him swooping a Vendetta over onto one of those objectives and gaining it. So they're mine. Not much you can do there. Move these Bloodletters forward. They're clearly going into this Chimera. Moved the Karanak and his boys over to this last battle tank. Bloodletters and Hounds moved over there to mop up those veterans, and then the Bloodthirster Vector Striked, or Vector Struck. I wonder which one it is. Either way, he did a Vector Strike move over that Vendetta, but failed to do any damage. So that's my movement phase. Now we're going to jump into the Chaos Demons shooting phase. Shooting phase was pretty meh. I fired the Icarus Las Cannon at the Vendettas, failed to do any damage. And the Warp Storm, though, I got Warp Surges for the third time in a row, which is +1 to all the invulnerable saves. And the only way I've been able to get that multiple times is because the Demonic Incursion can choose to add or subtract 1 from your roll. So it's result number 10. So if you roll a 9, 10, or 11, you can choose that result. And luckily I've rolled so far a 9, a 10, and now I just rolled an 11. So I'm able to drop it back down to a 10 and get that +1 to my invulnerable save army wide. So yeah, that's really fantastic. I think I've crunched the maths, and I think you got about a 25% chance of getting that result. And I've just managed to get it 3 times in a row, so I'm just getting really lucky with those rolls. I didn't run anything because obviously they're shooting. These guys don't need to go anywhere. These guys, and these guys are all about to do charges. So no run moves. And let's jump into the assault phase. Alrighty, that's the end of another brutal assault phase for Chaos Demons. So starting with the lackluster one over here, the Karanak and his boys charged into this battle tank, took off a single hull point. But since they don't have any armor piercing, they didn't inflict any damage results. They just took the hull point. Daydreaming over here. The Bloodletters here charged into that Chimera, blew it up, caused these guys to disembark. And then the units over here just absolutely fucking overkilled the shit out of those veterans. So it's left at the end of my turn 3. It's left my opponent with just 2 Vendettas, a unit of veterans, and a wounded battle tank that's cornered. So, not looking great. As for victory points, I got Supremacy, and I didn't get Secure Objective 1 or Psychological Warfare. Interesting. But I did get Supremacy, so we'll put that over there for now. I'll roll the D3 at the end. But yeah, so that's the end of my turn 3. Let's see what he can do in response in Astra Millitarum turn. So the start of the Astra Millitarum turn 3, and we've got discarded the issue a challenge card because he's not going to make any charges this turn, in his turn, and then he knows that his only character remaining is going to get wiped out, which is that guy over. Oh, he's going to get wiped out in my turn, and if he issues the challenge in my turn, he doesn't get the card. He needs to issue it in his, so he knows that that's not going to be possible, so he's discarded that. He's got secure objectives 3, 6, and Kingslayer. So 3 is up here, 6, and Kingslayer. So realistically, I don't think any of those are really going to be possible for him. Maybe 6, but we'll see. And then as for his movement phase, these guys elected not to move because they want to bring the full strength of their firepower out. Whereas if they move, they're going to be snap firing that autocannon. And then the 2 Vendettas moved forward their minimum because they need to stay in zooming. Because if they enter gliding mode, they can get assaulted and they'll get killed. Which really limited their potential because they had to move in that direction. So they've only got 1 firing target, which is that Bloodletters down the very back, pretty much. So we'll see. But that's movement for Astra Millitarum. Alrighty, so the Astra Millitarum shooting phase. They took a really risky shot with their battle tank here and fired at those Bloodletters. I was itching for it to scatter onto his own unit, just to add, insult to the injury that he's faced so far. But he got a perfect hit, and he managed to kill off 4 bloodletters, sorry, with that blast. His heavy bolters didn't do anything. Then he fired the veteran unit, into here and killed the Karanak with las guns again. Those las guns are just doing great. And then the 2 vendettas fired their las cannons into the unit of bloodletters down the back there, so it was the only target, and they only killed 1 with all of their las cannons. Those 4 up invulnerable saves have been doing really good work for me so far in this game. So that's the end of his shooting phase. And now he obviously doesn't have an assault phase this turn, so straight into which cards he got. Did not get 3, did not get 6, and did not get Kingslayer. So he didn't get any cards that turn, but it looks like he's setting himself up to go hunt down 6. And we'll see what he can do. So we're going to jump into Chaos Demons turn 4. So, turn 4 for Chaos Demons, I drew my cards, so I've got Hold the Line, Secure Objective 1, and Psychological Warfare on my cards for this turn. And all I did for movement, they stayed still. These Bloodletters and Hounds have moved up in here, so that once I wipe out that unit, I'll be holding Objective 1, which is for my cards. Bloodthirst has moved up here to polish off this battle tank, and then these 2 units have just sort of moved a little bit further towards his backfield in case I get the line breaker card down the track. I figured since it's turn 4, I'm not going to have enough turns to get down there to get my hold the line card, so that's not going to be achievable. And hopefully I can get some psychological warfare if they fail their fear test. I could be lucky and get that. And then there's secure objective 1, so that's my plans for this turn. Movement wise, now let's jump into the shooting phase and let's see whether I can get that lucky warp storm surge again. Not that I really need it, but let's. Pretty uneventful shooting phase. I did get warp surge again for the 4th time in a row, which is statistically retarded, but it happened. It literally just happened. So yeah, I rolled another 10. So as long as I roll a 9, 10, or 11, I can get that result on 2d6. And yeah, I've managed to get it every time. And the only other one was the run move of those bloodletters up the back there, just to get a little bit further into his deployment zone. So that's my movement. Now let's jump in. That's my shooting, sorry. Now let's jump into combat and watch some motherfucking veterans die. Alrighty, so that's the end of my close combat phase, and as you'd expect, those veterans were mopped up. The bloodletters did all but 1 wound, leaving the heavy weapons team alive with a single wound, and then the fleshhounds finished them off. Bloodthirster absolutely smashed that guy. I rolled 3 6s on the D strength. So even if that guy had 18 hull points, or even more, he would be dead. He's gone. So that's my assault phase done. And as for cards, did not get hold the line because you need to have 3 scoring units. I did get secure objective number 1. And I didn't get psychological warfare because he passed his fear test. And then I wiped him out. He didn't get to do a morale test at the end. So that's a little disappointing, but oh, it is what it is. So now all he has left on the table are 2 vendettas. So let's see what he can do with those in another turn. So it's now Astra Millitarum turn 4, so he's discarded secure objective number 3 because he figured it's so heavily contested, Vendetta's never going to steal that. So he's remaining with Kingslayer, objective 6 and objective 5. In his movement phase, this Vendetta flew all the way over here to grab number 6. So that's no longer corrupted and is now held by him. And then interestingly, he decided to enter hover mode and move that Vendetta over this way. And that way, he was explaining that his plan is now, if he needs to, he can jump off in any direction, whereas previously it was sort of forcing him to funnel down that way. So interesting, but we'll see what it can do, see whether it works for him. So that's their movement phase. Nice quick shooting phase for the Astra Millitarum. The Vendetta here fired his las cannons into there, killed 2 bloodletters. This is the only other unit he has, and it's facing off into fucking nowhere. So yeah, that's his kills for the shooting phase. No assault phase, obviously, again. And we got no Kingslayer. We did get objective 6, but he did not get objective 5, which is the one over here. that the bloodletters on the las cannon are holding. So that's the end of his turn 4, and we'll jump into Chaos Demons turn 5, and then we'll do the roll-up. Alright, so that's the end of Chaos Demons turn 5. So for my cards, I discarded Psychological Warfare, since they can't fail Morale Pinning or Fear, so there's no point keeping that card. And I drew Assassinate, still have Hold the Line, and I also drew Objective number 4, bringing me back up to the 3 cards. I can't get Assassinate, obviously. I'm not going to get Hold the Line. However, I did get Secure Objective 4. And obviously Movement didn't move, because what's the point? None of my units can hurt his, and everything's in a pretty good position as it is. So everything stayed still. Shooting Phase, you're not going to fucking believe it, but I rolled Warp Surge again. I rolled an 11 this time. I really wish I'd been getting these rolls on cameras, because if I was watching this battle report, I'd be like, fuck off, no you didn't. But nah, swear to God, Scout's Honor, I definitely did. I rolled an 11 this turn, an 11 last turn, a 10 and a 9. So, yes, definitely happened. And then obviously no assault phases, because the only things left on the table are flyers. So that's the end of my turn 5. So we'll do his turn 5, see what cards he draws, see what he decides to do with his vendettas, and then we'll do the roll-off and see whether we do a turn 6 or whether we call it game there. Alright, so here we have the end of the Astra Millitarum turn 5. So he drew cards. He drew Objective number 6 again, which is fantastic because he's still sitting on it. And he also has 2 and 5. So 2 being up there and 5 being over here. So he wasn't able to get 2 or 5, but he did get 6 again. So that was pretty good for him. And yeah, movement was pretty limited. He mainly just pivoted on things, and he fired a lot of his las cannons into this unit of bloodletters, because I think his plan was to try and kill them off of that Objective 5, so that if another turn happens, he could jump on and claim it for himself. But yeah, so that was his turn. Shooting, movement, no assaults, scored 1 victory point. Alright, now let's do the roll and see whether this game continues for one more. Alrighty, so we rolled there and finished the game. Ends on turn 5. So as for victory points, my opponent got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. He also got First Blood, and he also got a Line Breaker with his Vendetta there. So that gives him a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 victory points. Whereas I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards, one of which was D3, and I rolled a 4, so that gave me an extra 2. So that's now 7 victory points. Plus I got Slay the Warlord. Plus I got Line Breaker. So that's now 9. Plus I got, with the kill point differential, I got 3. So I'm 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'm on 12, and plus I get 3 for every objective I hold. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 victory points all up. Whereas he only holds 1 objective at the end of the game, so he gets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 victory points to the Astra Millitarum, and 27 to the Chaos Demons. And yeah, those extra kill points from the kill point differential didn't impact the game as heavily as I thought it would, but being able to control all of these objectives at the end of the game, and then having that Eternal War victory condition has really helped. So yeah, absolutely smashing, overwhelming victory for my Khorne Demons, which gives me a lot of confidence heading into this tournament this weekend. So yeah, wish me luck. I hope you guys enjoyed the battle report. I hope you guys enjoyed the new format, because I've tried, instead of just doing a turn summary, I've tried doing each phase, so that it's a little bit easier to follow. And I also tried doing just a single narration, so that it was a little bit easier to follow, I hope, instead of having the camera jumping from 2 different people. And I also, what else did I... Oh, new technology. New camera, new editing software, all the bells and whistles. So let me know what you think of the mission format. I'd love to know what you guys think of the A.T.C format. I'd love to know what you guys think of the lists that were in this battle report. And I'd also like to know what you guys think of the new changes I've made to my actual battle report format. So yeah, let me know, because as always, constantly trying to improve and try and make sure that I'm giving you guys the best content possible. As always, stay bloody, and thanks for watching.
One for the blood yacht.